as we are heading for election, as I speak to you, politicians are already going to the university communities to reach out to the professors, to the academics. And of course, they try to use the federal agencies that INEC will normally use as collation officers and returning officers. They are already reaching out to them. I presided over election in several states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In a particular state, a politician declared publicly before election, 48 hours to election, that by Saturday, by 12 o'clock, 2 p.m., the result would have won the election. Because historically, they were used to writing election result. But I was clear that under our watch, that the will of the people is what will govern in that election. In that election, that politician could not even make it. How much more for the party was even campaigning for? The professors who were used to write the results, we proceeded against them and got all of them jailed. Final points. No credible election can take place in the African continent when, for instance, in Nigeria, you have an Electoral Act that says that a ballot paper that does not bear the serial number of INEC shall be taken into account. What election are you expecting to happen? Two, we have in the current 2026 Electoral Act a provision that says that a presiding officer, a work collection officer, a returning officer that fails to comply with INEC regulation and guideline under section 133, 38, it shall not be a ground for nullifying election. And furthermore, that such individuals, when those matters are challenged in court, it shall not be necessary. It shall not be necessary to bring them to court. Yet, we are going for 2027 election, violating, ignoring the first alteration initiated by President Goodluck Jonathan under section 160 of the Constitution of the Fatherland to the effect that an EMB must be independent, an EMB must be unfettered to do what is right under section 160. He was the first to make that alteration. And 48 hours to the 2015 elections, what happened? Section 52 that prohibited the use of INEC procedure. President Goodluck Jonathan signed a new act to remove that. Of course, in Nigeria said they were looking for an iron bender in 2015. So we got an iron bender, as a gentleman to lead. So to me, whether democracy will have a hopeful future on the basis of political parties, which are indeed at the essential organ of democratic practice, and judiciary that should stand tall and mighty, they must copy what happened in England. And that is that the honors of how well election is conducted in Africa continent should be placed on the EMB. And they must adopt inquisitorial method, not adversarial method. That is the only way we can give to ourselves and future generations whose faces we are yet to see, whose name we may never know, that give to them one thing, which is nothing but a heritage of democratic hope. Thank you.
Thank you. So guys, I have so much.
As we are heading for election, as I speak to you,
like
politicians are already going to the university communities to reach out to the professors, to the academics.
Is afraid.
And of course, they try to use the federal agencies that INEC will normally use as collation officer and returning officers. They are already reaching out to them. I presided over election in several states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In a particular state, a politician declared publicly before election, 48 hours to election, that
electoral law
by Saturday,
that
by 12 o'clock, 2 p.m.,
much later,
the result would have been
most of these candidates
won the election. Because historically, they were used to writing election result.
May God bless
but I was clear
just a few of them
that under our watch,
and
that the will of the people
the person of
is what will govern
will always say
in that election. In that election, that politician could not even make it. How much more for the party was even campaigning for?
Is another person too.
The professors who were used to write the results,
especially
we proceeded against them and got all of them jailed.
He has been very
final points.
However, let me allow you
no credible election
some important points
can take place in the African continent
from other persons.
When, for instance, in Nigeria,
your thoughts for 2020,
you have an Electoral Act
all of these revelations
that says that a ballot paper that does not bear the serial number of INEC shall be taken into account. What election are you expecting to happen?
And we must take our destiny to
we have
our hands.
in
We
the
must take
current
our destiny.
2026 Electoral Act a provision
in this life,
that says
whether
that
you do good or you do
a
bad,
presiding officer, a war collection officer, a returning officer that fails to comply with INEC regulation and guideline under section 133, 38, it shall not be a ground for nullifying election. And furthermore, that such individuals, when those matters are challenged in court, it shall not be necessary. It shall not be necessary to bring them to court. Yet, we are going for 2027 election, violating, ignoring the first operation initiated by President Goodluck Jonathan under section 160 of the
infamous judges who have turned justice and judiciary upside down. It's a big shame. People are afraid to speak the truth. As a lawyer, I'm cautioned not to criticize the judiciary, but I have always said I have a popular quote: if you speak the truth, you will die. If you lie, you will die. So I, Dino Elijah, have chosen to speak the truth and die, because the truth has no volume. If you increase it, it's no longer the truth. If you reduce it, it's no longer the truth. So we are in perilous times. We're in times of vicissitude and vacillation in this country. We are in very critical times. And this is giving a different interpretation to the courts, because the court is supposed to be the last hope of the common man, not the last hope of the highest bidder.
Distinguished Senator, you bear in mind that right now the whole world is seeing the wrong hands being shown by the current party in Nigeria, the APC-led party. People are asking, what is APC afraid of? The question that arose because of the fact that African Democratic Congress is the most leading, formidable opposition party as at now in Nigeria. But if you look at the formula, the backdoor style of the APC so far, they try to cut in through every opposition parties in Nigeria. Try to create crisis where there are no crises. The question now is, what is APC afraid of? And why is Tinubu, the president of the country, why is it turning Nigeria to Nigeria is not a monarchy country? Is Nigeria turning monarchy? And what's APC afraid of?
Anyway, first I will say that the Holy Book says the guilty runs when no one is chasing him. That is the story of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Tinubu is afraid. Tinubu is scared, is jittery. And this being jittery has now catapulted into desperation. This desperation made him procured opposition governors. And today he claims he has between 31 and 33 governors in his kitty.
Whoa. Wow.
Out of 36.
Jesus.
So a man who said he's got 33 or 32 governors in his kitty and over 70% or 80% of the National Assembly in his kitty, why is he afraid?
You see, I'm a scholar and at the same time a practitioner. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of MDC, he continued to speak generalistically. You know,
what does that mean?
You can't say professors. That's what we call, he has committed a fallacy of unqualified generalization.
How do you mean? Who are those that organize the election in Nigeria? They're not professors?
Right now, he said professors. How many of them? There are bad eggs everywhere, even in journalism, even in acting, where he is acting because he's an actor.
I'm not an actor.
You are a comedian. You are
well, actually, he was a director.
I direct people like you who don't know how to deliver lines. I'm a director. I'm not an actor, please. Don't dress me wrongly.
Yeah, you are directing stage play.
I direct you.
So we are not doing acting here, okay? We are talking of serious nation-building issues.
Yes, that is why you should address the clause. Why did your candidate, omit the clause of primary and secondary school?
He has a right to
what the issue is.
Yeah, but that's not the question I asked.
And secondly, because he like to make noise, I like to make points. That's the difference between the two of us.
Make the point, let's
I'm
see.
a scholar. He also, Peter Obi, in the statement you mentioned, he also talked about professors helping illiterates. Are you getting me? That is also, that means he also is an illiterate because he himself he has just collected form to contest as an aspirant of his party. It is not every one of us that are illiterate.
That doesn't make me an illiterate. What does illiterate mean? Define the word illiterate. Can you define the word? Define the word illiterate.
Someone who is not educated, who doesn't.
You may not be educated in journalism and you're educated in mechanic work. That's not being an illiterate.
You can see why Peter Obi's statement is unqualified. It's not every political office holder that is an illiterate. Two, even
is your presidential candidate educated?
Listen, the constitution
which is his primary school? Which is his secondary school? Can you name his primary school? Can you name his secondary school? Give us. Can you give us those two?
Because you didn't.
No, can you give us those two?
And you cannot win the 27 election.
Come here and bamboozle us with cock and bull. A scholar, what is? Did you go to primary school? What is the name of your primary school?
HLA.
Very good. What is the name of your secondary school?
Akpatere Community.
Can you please name for us Tinubu's primary school and his secondary school?
And I went to INEC.
Can you name for us Tinubu's primary school?
Right, okay, gentlemen.
So that is why we're saying professors are aiding. Look at the scholar. You are aiding an illiterate to become president of our country.
Hold on, folks.
Our president.
That's what the issue is.
Is qualified.
I'm going to have to come in.
The politicians don't need our votes to get to power. Who do they need? The judges. That is why Wike is building mansions for judges. That is why state governors are donating Prados and Land Cruisers to judges across the states. That is why they are making sure judges are the best paid people in Nigeria. And meanwhile, governors who cannot pay minimum wage are feeding judges with the kind of money and emoluments and free pay that you cannot add up and cannot declare. Because citizens don't care.
So, but Prof, you think buying houses and giving vehicles to are wrong?
By politicians? Of course I think it's wrong. You think I'm going to pull back from that and tell you it is very right? This is wrong.
To help them do their jobs well, make them
Excuse me, what happened to judicial budget?
Susceptible to
what happened to judicial budget?
Influence.
Now, okay, so a governor has money or thinks they have money to give to procurement of vehicles for judges. Why is that not in the judicial budget?
So anything that anyone... So, because in the code of conduct for judicial officers, it is given that there is an amount, there is a level of gifting that any judge can subject himself or herself to.
No.
Actually. But it's in the code of conduct.
Go and read the
cannot receive...
Precisely.
Gifts. Do you amount these kind of houses or vehicles to this kind of gifts?
Absolutely, yes. So, as a matter of fact,
any judge that receives this vehicle or house has breached the code of judicial conduct.
As far as if I'm a lawyer arguing before a court in Nigeria, and you have received, and I'm in a case involving a state governor or a state government, and you have received a car, I will seek to recuse you. As a matter, I will not negotiate it. I will recuse you, or you will sack me from your court. But I will not continue doing a case before you if you have received a vehicle from a governor. And if you're a chief judge and you're assigning a case, having received a car from a governor, I'll fight you to the end if I were a lawyer in the state. I won't. This is the point. And now we all have to make accommodations for these things. I practiced law. I started off legal practice at a time in this country when that was unheard of. I've been a lawyer in this country for nearly 40 years. Okay? I started off before the law entirely left me. And I'm happy that it left me because there are things I can no longer understand.